Hello everybody. I'm going to show you how I've solved a problem. I wanted to make a metal stamp for my handiwork. It's just a hobby, so I didn't really want to pay a lot of money for a metal stamp for the numbers 925 for sterling silver. I searched the internet for videos on how to make a stamp, and I couldn't really find anything. I found how you could make bigger stamps and how to harden the tool, but no details about how to make really fine print. So now I'm going to tell you. So what I did is I took a pin, the part that was left from a polishing tool I had for my rotary machine, polishing machine, grinding machine. This was the finest I had with a diamond tip, which I thought was what I needed. But I couldn't go any smaller in text size than what I just showed you. So I started thinking that tungsten carbide should be able to make a finer print. This is my first try, and it's the inverted version, and that wasn't really good because it needed a lot of force to make the imprint on to the metal. You see, I'm using Allen keys. I first of all heat them up so they're not hardened anymore. That's really important to be able to work the steel. And I wanted to use the quality of steel that was made for tools to be sure that the stamp then would last for a long time. This is a 3mm Allen key, and I thought working with such a small dimension would help me to get the numbers to be small enough. In the first one the numbers were about 3 millimeters high, and here they're above 1 millimeter, and I needed these numbers to be even smaller, so I needed sub millimeter or maximum 1 millimeter. Then came the question how to make a tool to cut numbers so small. On the internet you can find videos of making ordinary stamps, like just a mark of some type, but it's very difficult to find something that shows how to make really fine lines and numbers or text. What you see here is the tool I ended up making, which just was the pin from a spent polishing tool. I cut the tip flat and soldered on a piece of tungsten carbide. You can see a line in the metal where it's square, and on the other side you can see it's round. That's the piece of tungsten carbide, and half of it here I ground down to the size of a very fine syringe. The tungsten carbide I bought and it was from a scraper which is normally used for scraping color off wood, like when you renovate windows or something else. And just using diamond tools, diamond cutting wheel, cutting tip, wheeled tip, or what they are called, it was quite easy to shape the tungsten carbide. And then I used ordinary solder that is normally used for water pipes, copper pipes in houses, and some flux, of course. And it was no problem soldering. It was rather easy, actually. After having soldered the tungsten carbide tip or piece on the tip, I started to shape it by mounting the pin in the tool that I was going to use, so I knew it would be perfectly centered. Because when you use or are working with these really fine tips, it comes uncentered very easily. So if you change tools, take this pin out and put another tool in and put this back, it will be off center. So you can see here that I ground half the tungsten carbide down to a cylinder, like a point, with this type of diamond stone. And I didn't want to make the point too long, so I would break it too easy, because as you see, it's about 1/10 of a millimeter wide. To sharpen it, I used the tool to know in which orientation when rotating it. I was holding it and made a three-sided point, which meant it would be three corners to impact the metal that I would work on. And also the point is really fine. It's really easy to puncture the skin. When you are starting to use the tool after you have sharpened it, I would recommend you to use a rather low speed on the machine, and don't push too hard, you will just break the tip. This way it actually lasts quite a while before you have to sharpen it again. This is something I learned by trial and error, and for the last stamp, which is the one you will see in a minute that I will be making, I used slow speed and didn't hurry it as much as I did before, and it gave a lot better result. Here you see how I sharpened the point with the machine spinning, and after that I just stopped, turned it off, and kept it from rotating, sharpening, flattening one side, turning it a bit, sharpening it manually, turning it a bit again, and sharpening it again. I'm sorry for the video quality. I'm not used to making films like this. However, I can tell you that when I started this project with this piece of metal, this Allen key, the point was a bit bigger, which didn't really work out, so I decided to be brave and make it even finer than before, and to my surprise it held. It wasn't a problem. This is the smallest piece I made to date, and the numbers are just above 1 millimeter high, and I keep it in view just to be able to see the numbers I'm trying to engrave on the other piece, because it's difficult to work and make the mirror image. What I'm doing here in a few seconds is I'm trying to start the hole that is in the 9. That to me seemed to be the most difficult part, to get that centered, and also to cut the shape of the circle in the 9 so it looked right. To make sure that I would make small enough numbers, I cut away as much material as I needed, so I couldn't make the numbers bigger, forcing myself to go as small as possible. For grinding and shaping the metal, I've used normal files, diamond stones, and they call them diamond wheels, uh, both the flat ones and the ones with tips. Solder and a torch. I use a butane torch, that's hot enough. I also use magnifying glass, or as you see, to be able to really see what I'm doing, and still I found it kind of difficult, so you also need good lighting. When it comes to solder, there are different versions of that, and I used the one type that is used for water pipes, copper pipes in buildings, and the one I bought contains a little bit more silver, and that they told me makes it flow better, and I had no problems, so I'm very happy with that. When it comes to hardening this stamp, I watched some videos on YouTube, and one person seemed to know exactly how to do this, and it was to heat the steel until red and then quench it in water or oil, and then especially the side that you're striking your hammer on, from that point you really don't want that to be hardened. You need that to be a bit soft. So you start heating it from that side, and you will see the steel change color. It goes yellow and then it goes blue, and you need the color change to move along the tool, and the tip is to go yellow but not blue. So you have to be careful heating it up and watch the color change, and then quench it as soon as you see your tip going into the yellow hue. And congratulations if you managed to stay with me all this time, all the way to this point. I'm sorry for not being as polished as a lot of other people are. It's my first how-to video, and actually I would say I'm not quite sure anyone is going to watch this. However, if you are and you find it helpful, I wouldn't mind you sending a short message to say that that is a fact, that it helped you. Nothing else. No subscriptions or anything. I would just be happy to know that someone else found this useful. So thank you for watching, and best of luck with your project. Bye.